Hi everybody, welcome to episode 12 of the Teesside Business Podcast. Today we're lucky enough to have Dan from DJM Aerial Solutions. Thank you very much for coming down and seeing us, Dan.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. We'll jump right into it, same as we do with everybody. If you want to start by telling us a little bit about your career history and how you came start up DJM.
Yeah, so like a lot of people from our generation, I started as an apprentice for a company called Grayson White and Sparrow, who were a crane hire company. And I started off as a maintenance technician or a fitter, as we were known then. A company called Ainsco came in a few years later, bought them out and dispersed of all the £45 a week apprentices across the board, which was canny. And I jumped on board with a company called Sarans, who, similar sort of work, they were involved with a lot more heavy stuff, ranging from cranes around the size of about 400 ton capacity up to 2,000. I served my time with them. I think I did 6 years, and then I moved on to a company called ALE, or Abnormal Load Engineering.
There you go.
Where I worked up to maintenance manager, saw a bit of the world, and decided I was never at home. I was always away. I was Southeast Asia, the Middle East, never ever at home.
Yep.
I might do 6 months away and come home for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then do another 4 months. So it got a bit tiresome, as I'm sure you can imagine, and then I decided to go offshore, where it was equal rotation.
Yep.
So I went to a company called Technip as hydraulic engineer, based out in the Gulf of Mexico. 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. From my kind of, I suppose, I jumped in at the deep end, and it was a case of, right, you're going to be crew changing in the Caribbean and this and that. I thought, oh, absolutely wonderful, you know. Anyway, long story short, the 6 weeks was just too much. It was too much, too long away, too long at home.
Yeah.
So you kind of fell out with the work whilst you're at home, and you fell out with home whilst you're at work.
You're in a weird limbo of both.
Strange situation. So I came back to the North Sea on a 3 week rotation. And that was obviously completely opposite end of the scale. It wasn't enough time at home, and it was too long on, because generally speaking, we were working right up north most of the time on a ship, and the weather was coming in. You were fogged on, or the choppers couldn't get out, or it was absolutely horrendous. So again, jumped ship to a company called Ocean Rig. Same role, hydraulic engineer, and we were based out in West Africa initially. So we did most of the countries in West Africa, deep sea drilling.
Yep.
And then I moved over to Brazil, which is where I'd completely had enough by this point.
Seen everywhere by then.
Oh man, and obviously I have young kids.
Yeah.
So I just decided to take the plunge. I needed a way out, if the truth be known.
Yep.
So again, invested a load of capital into some equipment that was survey grade rated.
Yep.
Built the foundation for the business whilst I was still offshore during my time off, and again, just it came to a close. I just pulled the pin eventually and quit the job, and that's kind of where we are with it, you know. So we've obviously from there we've got the foundation was built, like I say, whilst I was offshore. We've got the SEO in place, we had the website in place, we started to build a client list, and it's just progressed up until where we are now, which, you know, second year now. It's not, we're just ticking over.
Not slowing down.
No.
So tell us about what DJM actually does. We're obviously, you know, for the kit that everybody can see is obviously you're a drone company, but that can mean a million different things in this day and age. So give us a bit of a rundown on what DJM does specifically.
So given my background, I kind of saw a gap in the market. I suppose we were involved heavily with a lot of manned inspection work whilst I was offshore, most of which was very dangerous, especially when you're working at height. And again, it was just visual inspections. Obviously, if there was something amiss, or there was a requirement for any maintenance, then we would need to get scaffolding. Again, another dangerous aspect. But yeah, I kind of thought, well, surely there must be a simpler way of doing this, you know. And when I started looking into it, there was a couple of big companies up in the northeast Scotland, covering the North Sea, and I was like, well, why? And I had the technology already, or a smaller version of what we're using now, which is over there. But I kind of decided, why aren't I doing this full time? You know, you kind of got the ball rolling. I came back, wrote a business plan, and that's where we are with it. You know, it was so. Yeah, it's been difficult to try, because with it being a new technology as well, people are obviously wary of it. So
of course.
But yeah, and again, the education around it, people kind of think of drones to fancy pictures and videos, and obviously it's not the case. We can do thermography assessments, we can do point cloud analysis and topographic surveys and all kinds of fancy stuff with them.
So there is like a big change. Obviously, when somebody does think drone, they generally do think PC world, DJI Maverick type stuff, you know, that people might use to take some alright photos, have a bit of a blast around on, stuff like that. But obviously, like, judging by the kit that you've got here, and there's another drone that we've got over there, but we'll have some footage of to show everybody. The kit that you've got's like massively different. So is it built like, I see there that it's actually built by DJI, so is it that specifically for those sectors and things like that?
DJI kind of went, I suppose predominantly DJI were always creative industry, building drones for that, for filming, basically. And then they jumped onto the enterprise side, which was more survey stuff, to compete with the other players in the industry, I suppose. And obviously they've just grown arms and legs. They're probably the biggest. Well, they are the biggest drone manufacturer in the world currently. But yeah, there is a lot of people going out there now and paying £400 or £500 for a DJI drone from some high street supermarket or superstore, and they're going out and attempting to build their own business with it, which is fair enough. But the gear that we have, it was built for industry standards, so we can go in and say, right, we've got equipment there with several dual redundancies. It's not going to fall out the air. We're not going to lose contact with it. This, that, the other. You know, all sorts of fancy stuff on it. And I suppose you turn up on site with a little DJI Mavic or something, they're going to laugh you straight back out the gate.
Yeah, of course.
So we had to invest quite a lot of money into it in the first instance, just so they would take us seriously, I suppose. And we've just recently, through a lot more investment into another drone which we can use to carry out surveys and inspections on confined space. So it sits in its own roll cage essentially. I'm going to be picking it up this afternoon.
Well, that's phenomenal for like indoor work or tighter spaces.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, a lot of people like obviously as we start to look into it and stuff, there's obviously anybody can go out and buy a drone to fly one, but there's quite a lot of laws that obviously it's been updated quite a lot in the UK. Like you can, I don't know them all specifically, but you can only fly within, you need permission to fly like in certain areas and things like that. Like, does that provide is that a lot of issues for you in your business, or do you have to have special licensing?
No, your first act is you need to go and you need to be trained. Basically, well, to be fair, you probably don't need to be trained by a specific person. If you've got the experience there as a drone pilot and you want to take it further and go commercial, you have to write an operations manual and you have to prove to the Civil Aviation Authority that you're competent in flying. Basically, and if something does go wrong and you do lose GPS or whatever, you can bring it back in manual mode, regardless of the situation that you're in. So we kind of, obviously, again, a lot of research. We looked into. We went with one of the best companies in the UK for that specific purpose. They all had a lot of knowledge in remote flying, not necessarily drones. But they all had massive experience. They all had huge aviation experience, and we kind of thought, right, okay, they're the people that we need to go with, and they've been mentoring us ever since. So I can't fault that. Again, there are a lot of people that don't bother going down that route and just do as they please, you know. But yeah, the rules specifically, there's a few. You can't they say 150 metres away from any congested zone, which is up to 1,000, from 1,000 people up over. So any housing estate, any event, things like that,
Basically anywhere that's apart from even parks and stuff, you probably go.
You never know,
Yeah.
50 metres away from anybody that's not under your control. So obviously, if anybody's involved with a job, you have to explain the risks, the fallout, everything else. And then they become, I suppose, one of your extended team. And then you have to have a 30-metre circumference around the takeoff and landing areas. You have to have emergency landing spots if there's anything amiss. There's a few rules and regulations and a few hoops to jump through, but you kind of you learn it as you go,
I imagine, just like you mentioned, obviously the ability to be able to fly and things like that. I don't imagine it's an easy thing to just be able to pick up. Like, I imagine there's a certain level of intuitiveness where the DJI try and make it as easy as possible, but for certain things, it must require a lot of hours to be able to put practice in to be able to fly.
It certainly is that, and to be able to fly in close proximity to things as well is another. Obviously, they do have GPS and they do hold themselves quite well, but if you are up close and personal with an asset, you're probably better off flying in manual mode, because if that suddenly drifts to one side, or if the wind catches it wrong and it tries to correct itself, it's going to crash. So you certainly need to have your wits about you.
So when you start out, did you put like a certain number of hours in practicing, or do you try and make time for it now, or like when you get the new drone, for example? Like, obviously you'll have never flown that before, so I suppose if it was me, I'd be looking forward to taking it out. And having a bit of a buzz around with it. So do you set time aside for it or anything like that? Or?
I suppose what we generally tend to do is it's a difficult one to judge, but every so often DJI or whoever the manufacturers will release some more firmware which needs to be uploaded into the system. And we, as per our operations manual, we have to take it out and do a practice flight with the new firmware just to make sure nothing goes wrong. Within that time, we exhaust maybe 10 batteries.
God.
So then we've got the Civil Aviation Authority stipulate that you have 3 hours flying per month, which is easily done.
I was going to say, that must, be ticked off quite easily.
But just to keep yourself on top of the game, you're better off doing as much practice as you can. Especially in ATI mode, which is an acronym for attitude. I don't know why they call it that, but it's basically manual. It just takes out the GPS from the system, so you are operating against the wind. You're having to compensate for the weather, which is quite difficult. But once you've sussed that out, then the world's your oyster kind of thing. You can fly anywhere.
You mentioned flying in weather and stuff like that. That's something that I never thought about. So, can certain drones only fly in certain weather? Like, obviously we're in the UK, bad weather's, especially a lot of your inspections, I imagine, are outside, stuff like that. Especially if you're in the North Sea, etc. Then I imagine winds and stuff like that. Like, do the drones that you specifically combat that, or like? Because I imagine like a high gust of wind, even a small drone, like obviously that's the smaller one of the two that you have here. I imagine a good gust of wind would send it.
Yeah, you've got limits, and it's up to you as an operator to be able to stay right. We can't operate in this. It's not good enough. The manufacturer sets the limit.
Yeah.
Your experience might govern that.
There's kind of like a range, and you know where you are, like in it person experience.
So obviously, the bigger they are, generally speaking, the bigger the props are, they can hold the ground a little bit better in stronger winds. Rain wise, that one's not waterproof, but we've got one there which is rated to IP43, which is you can fly.
I was going to say I think waterproof is considered IP45.
Yeah, something like that.
I think so. That's something that you can fully submerge. So that'll do.
So I mean, in the rain, and you're not going to get a fantastic fancy image that you would put on all over your social media, because it'll rain all over the lens.
Yeah.
But for inspection purposes, it's fine. You can see what you need to see, or you can buy that. The gi that they use for the motorbike visors and same sort of thing.
So it doesn't obviously.
It just repels it.
So when you started in Teesside and things like that, did you manage to get like any help from the local community? Were there anybody you reached out who managed to help with things like funding or office space or acquiring equipment and stuff like that? Like, we've talked previously with some people about the Tees Valley Business Compass. They're great, but obviously they're operating currently. So
this latest drone, or this latest unit that we've just bought, we've had funding from Tees Valley Business Compass, obviously up to 33%, and Digital City, Teesside University. So to be honest with you, the money that we've had there pays for half of the drone, basically, which is a massive chunk.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the drones that you guys, like, it's not a £500 drone that you guys are flying, so it is like an absolute huge chunk.
Huge chunk. So it has been really helpful. We're currently involved with the Innovate Tees Valley. We have a relationship with NEPIC, with the process sector, the Chamber of Commerce. We're involved with all of these different local companies, and they've given us a lot of assistance and help over this past year.
Is there anything specific that you guys had to do with councils and stuff like that with being a drone aviation company? Or
what we do, if we are working in the area, we have to give the Teesside Airport a call, and we speak to their air traffic controller. We're very polite. They understand our requirements, we understand theirs. And generally speaking, the police, we have to contact, because there has been a case. Where were we recently? We were at Darlington doing a job at West Park Hospital. And we were involved with a specific department within that hospital that governed against this ward. As soon as we got the drone off the floor, there was somebody come running out. They've rang the police. But luckily, I'd already spoken to the police, so I obviously have my reference number and everything else. You just need to call them and explain what's going on. Just a lack of communication on their part opposed to mine. So it's fun and games sometimes, but
we get there in the end. So do you find out? Do you guys do business predominantly in Teesside, or is it just like, you cover I'm guessing you cover a large part of the country, or other things and stuff like that?
We would like to work more in Teesside, because it's our hometown. But again, the blue chip companies, obviously the final decision doesn't lie with them, they have to go elsewhere. So the jobs within industry in Teesside are few and far between for now. Hopefully with this, with the growth that we're seeing at the minute, we're hoping to get a percentage of that. But we are getting a lot of kind of work well out of the way of T. We were in Grimsby the other day. We did a job in Grimsby. We've done little bits in Lincoln. So we're happy to cover the UK.
Which I suppose is a good thing about it, that as big as the drones are, it's still pretty mobile, portable, and stuff. And things like that. So how have you found starting up in business in Teesside? Was it like an easy procedure? Because you kind of I suppose, I don't want to use the term got ready, but kind of prepared for a long time while you kind of had a job. Did you find anyone was pretty welcoming, and that kind of thing? Or
it was very difficult, if I'm brutally honest.
You were.
People were constantly telling us it's difficult, it's really hard work, so on and so on. And I don't think you consider that, But I've put a lot of time, a lot of effort into just building the foundation of the business. 16, 17, 18 hours a day at the computer, website, SEO, this, that, the other, trying to build your online profile. And at the same time, trying to get the networking, trying to do the networking, everything. It's just really, really hard. But it's kind of paying off now. As 8 months down the line, and the work's starting to steadily come in.
Reap what you sow.
Well, that's it. You get back what you put in, don't you? In anything.
You do. So if we had a magical time machine, and you could go back, would there be anything that you would have done differently? Now you look at it and think, God, that was, or you could have done a bit smoother, maybe. Or
probably the transition from being employed to going at it, to diving in the deep end. Basically, I would. I don't suppose there's ever a good time, and it's always a leap of faith. Irrespective of what industry you're in. But obviously, I was in the offshore business. I was earning very good money.
Which is common in Teesside. A lot of people have been attracted to go offshore because the money is really good.
And I've just had enough. I've really, really had enough, and I thought, oh God, I can't do it anymore.
You just didn't want to get on one more helicopter.
Well, that's it. And they're constantly crashing in the North Sea, and I thought, oh God, no. So and then we're obviously working at the other end of the scale, where the safety culture isn't as strong as what it is in Europe or the UK. So Yeah, it was just difficult, and then you, without sounding die, I was going offshore, and I'm thinking, am I ever going to see my family? You know what I mean?
That's not a good thing that you want to have.
No.
Like, you know.
So that was it. That was kind of the final nail in the coffin, and that's where we went.
Yeah. So you mentioned obviously a little bit about networking there. We talk to most people like who come on about networking because it's like, say, I knew the dog would come in for a good thing. Lie down. So networking is a common thing that most people do in Teesside. Everyone seems to either love it or hate it, or like, I was just wondered on your opinion. Obviously, we've mentioned on previous podcasts it's something that we've done in the past, you know, and we're looking into doing it again. Like, are you currently involved in any, you know, like, what do you kind of think of the networking in Teesside? Is it a good thing, bad thing?
I think you need to target your market. Again, we're involved with quite a lot of companies who do arrange networking events, and it just depends on your customer, your client, your client base. Like I say, we're a predominantly heavy industry, so we prefer the likes of Nepic, who are arranging networking events around process, petrochemical, things like that. And obviously all the key decision makers are there, and we can discuss in engineering terms what they want. Yeah, which is great for us. Whereas on the other side of the scale, we might go to and there's nothing wrong with it. You're building your brand awareness, and that's it. The Chamber of Commerce ones, we tend to find there's a lot of digital web developers and things like that. Fantastic. Yeah. And you kind of you start to get recognized. It's funny because you start to get recognised, and you meet the same people and the same faces.
Yeah. And
then you're like, right, okay, maybe you take a step back for a few months just to kind of take stock and see what's working for us and what isn't. Yeah. You know? So that's kind of what we've done at the minute. In the beginning, we still are members of everywhere. Yeah. Next year we probably won't be. Yeah. And we probably plough it in to relevant companies such as NOF. And Nepic again.
Like, processes is a funny thing. Like my dad was in process all his life, and it was one of those where it seemed to be obviously really popular around like Teesside with it, ICI, etc. And then it seemed to kind of die off. But then as it was come back, there was nobody kind of coming through that system again, so they kind of went back to the old guard to try and have them come back and stuff. But I'm glad that it's kind of like coming back and stuff.
It's definitely coming. It's really it's amazing, really, what's going on in the background. You hear little snippets. You don't ever see the full story, do you? But it's definitely a positive thing what's going on with Sirius Minerals and these new biomass plants and things like that are going up. I read I think Ben Houchen put something in on LinkedIn or Twitter the other day saying that the new Sirius Minerals establishment is going to create another 18% revenue for Teesside.
Really?
18% on top of what we're getting. So it's
if you think about that, like 18% people think, oh, that's not, but if you think that's a revenue of total of Teesside, that's millions upon millions. Massive. You know what I mean? It's huge. Well, so fifth, isn't it? So you mentioned briefly before, obviously, that you've got a young family. Yeah. Boys, girls.
Mix.
How old?
2 boys, 1 girl. I've got a one's 18. Yeah. The oldest one's 18. The youngest one's 5.
That's a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll make for an entertaining household.
It is. Saying that, he tends to just stay in his bedroom now on his Xbox or PlayStation. I know. That's him.
Yeah. There you go. He's famous. So is he involved as well?
He's doing a course at college now, electronic engineering. He's looking towards an apprenticeship, so I've had him with me as, I suppose, what do they call it now?
Work
experience.
Yeah. So one of the things that we talk about for a lot of people is I've hated it with the work-life balance, because it's different for everybody, and something that a lot of people are interested in, especially when you have a starting up business. A lot of people kind of struggle with work-life balance, myself being included. How did you find it when obviously having a young family and starting like that? Is it something that you paid? We had somebody on last week who paid really close attention from the get-go. We've had people who've changed how their business runs as they've gone on so they can do it, and some people who were just haven't changed anything. So
it's a difficult one because of my past work experience in the offshore industry.
I suppose you were now home a lot more than you ever were, really.
So I kind of look at it like that, and although I am, fully concentrated on the business, I feel like I'm still there a lot more than I ever was when I was.
Yeah.
I obviously am, when I was offshore, and I mean, again, we're still running an office from home.
Yeah.
So, the kids are around all the time. I don't lock the door. They can come in and go as and when they need. So it's just you do what you do, don't you? And if you sat there 18 hours, you've still got time for the kids. Still give them an hour. Still put them to bed. Still bath them.
And then
So it's all. And then the weekends, I might work. It depends what's on. I might do a report Saturday morning. And spend the afternoon with the kids.
I imagine the kids think it's excellent.
Oh, they love it. They love it. I'm actually going to pick my son up from school today to take him to Leeds to pick this other drone up.
So really? So
he'd be excited.
Yeah. I think anybody would be, wouldn't it, for the dad to have, like, basically it's just massive toys, isn't it, that you can just go and play with?
Yeah. People keep saying he must have the best job in the world. Yeah, I wish I did.
But, like, it's, it is getting, like, obviously, I saw a video the other day of, like, I don't know why I never thought of it, but drone racing and stuff like that. It's a massive thing now, isn't it?
It's coming. I think there's a lot of money to be had as well there.
Yeah.
From the winners of the race. Yeah. But that is some skill that they're using there.
Well, when you see, like, obviously, I'd never seen it until I watched it, and, like, the speed that they were flying, and obviously through obstacles and stuff, I was like, holy crap.
There's no GPS. It's all manual.
Yeah. So...
It's amazing. I could never... Without a lot of practice, don't think I could do that. Too stressful. It's bad enough flying one of these things.
I know. I would absolutely hit. Well, we were joking the other day that we had we picked up like it's just like a Spider-Man drone. Like basically it's a toy. It doesn't record anything. And so like obviously next door in the office, we'll give it a go and we'll just have a bit of fun with it. I nearly killed Rick in about 2 seconds, and I thought best turn this off. Turned it on, veered straight over through the office. Sound like a very angry large wasp, and I thought this is probably not health and safety conscious.
No, I've done the same myself. I probably shouldn't be saying this on camera, but I went out and bought. What tends to happen is you fall out with the photography side and the videography side, which again is not our market, but I was doing it as a hobby in the beginning, and this is kind of where it's gone. But rather than carrying out, like you've seen the cases that these come, you can't just take it out of your pocket and start flying it about for some fancy footage. So I bought a Mavic Air, which is a tiny little...
Yeah, I've seen them.
Brilliant.
Footprint of about so big.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I was like, look at it, we took it home, and you can obviously fly it in the house and whatever. It's got prop guards and... So I started flying in the house. It just kept on going. Issue with the firmware. Kept on going. Couldn't get it under control. I couldn't flick it into active. I was like, oh no! So I got hold of it. Took the skin right down to the bone of my. And that's just with props that size. So
God, imagine these and there's there is flexibility in them, but they must be. You'll only let you'll catch yourself once with them. But they do a hell of a lot of damage when I think about it.
It's a flying blender, isn't it?
Basically, health and safety nightmare. Did you have to do much health and safety? Like obviously, it's not just like our standard health and safety assessment is to make sure that the guys don't trip over anything. You basically have a large flying robot weapon.
That's it. So all that's included in your operations manual. And again, there's a lot of common sense. There's probably people out there from different industries who haven't had the exposure in high risk environments like what I have. So they probably didn't have the level of health and safety training. So there is, if you're starting a business, you need to be conscious. It's just common sense. You need to be conscious about where your strengths are and what you need to learn on. So it's again, each job that you go on, you've obviously got your first aid kit, fire extinguishers, fire blankets, all that carry on. So you end up carrying a lot of kit around with you.
It's just what if stuff.
That's it.
What if stuff.
Touch wood, I've never had to use it.
So when you're using, obviously I know that you said that you're doing less and less of the filming work and stuff like that. Is it a different set of drones that you use, or are they multi-purpose and you'll use these ones, or?
It depends. Again, it depends on the situation. Wholeheartedly, I've got the Phantoms and, like I say, the Mavics, and they still produce a fantastic quality footage or image. Again, I've got a DJI Phantom 4 Pro at home, and the image quality from that's probably better than this.
Yeah, really.
But you couldn't turn up and look professional with that.
No.
You know, so it's one of those balance things. And like, who's the client? Are they going to be there? Does it matter if they see the? You know, it's.
Yeah.
Suppose it's kind of you just need to judge it on that. But generally speaking, I'm either using this one or that one.
Yeah, depending on what
on a commercial level. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, I suppose like they're designed for different things at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, if going back to kind of like when you got started up and things like that, is there any advice that you would give to anybody who was maybe not like starting up to do obviously like aerial inspection and stuff, because you must have a very like it's not like I can suddenly start that I can fly a drone, so I'll do aerial inspection because I haven't got the background of knowledge, etc., that requires for process and stuff. But even somebody who's just standard, let's say wedding photography with a drone or something like that, what advice would you give to people in starting up, like specific to drone stuff?
I would certainly say stick with what you know.
Yep.
100%. There's no, like you say, it's no good going out and buying a drone and trying to do something that you've never done before, because you won't have the confidence, you won't know what you're looking at, you won't know what the camera settings are, this, that, and the other. Yeah. So you need to, and there is a lot, and I suppose that happens in every industry. People kind of think, oh, I know what I'll do. It's a quick couple of quid.
Yep.
It's never the case.
No.
So yeah, definitely stick with what you know. If you're a photographer or a videographer, by all means get into it. And if you feel that you've got the skill set to be able to back up what it is that you're doing, then take a leap of faith. You can always go back to your day job.
Yeah.
There's no, you'll only regret it. For me, you'll only regret it if you don't.
Yeah. We were talking about that the other day, that you can kind of live with failing, but regret will kind of eat at you for the rest of your life.
Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. Keep you awake at night as you get older, kind of thing. So we've started to ask people 3 of the same questions in the podcast. So the 3 same questions are what success looks like to you, and that's different for everybody. What failure have you had within your current career that's led forward to either success or primed you for something that where other doors have opened, and finally something that you're obsessed with, which could be anything, could be a TV show, could be a little piece of kit, could be a DVD, whatever it could be, something that a TV show, something that you really love. So we'll start with kind of like the most dominant one, which is the success thing. And everything's different. Everybody, some people it's got an X amount of bank account, some people selling it and retiring, living on a beach, some I just want to spend time with my family. Yeah. Like everybody's different. So we're always really curious to kind of find out what everybody's is.
Yeah.
Have you had a thought or an image of what you would consider like where you would say, like this is not being successful, but
I think for me personally, success would be to just have a normal lifestyle, a decent lifestyle, ticking over, not having to worry about finances and paying the bills.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking forward to. Obviously, again, I've come from that offshore background.
Yeah.
And if I can sustain a lifestyle like similar to that, then that's me.
Yeah.
Providing for the family, and hopefully it'll scale off the back of that.
No, fantastic. So, was there any kind of like failure's really harsh word to use, but or setback or anything like that maybe happened early doors that made you rethink how you were doing stuff, or that you thought was bad at the time but actually led to something good, anything like that?
It's a good question, actually. I'm looking back now, and like I say, we're still early days. I mean, the only thing that I can think of was to pull the pin on the day job.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether I'd have done it differently, because it was the right time at the time, So it's I don't want to sound arrogant, but I don't. As far as I can see, there's been no failures so far. Touch wood.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be, and I'm sure we'll learn from it.
Yeah.
So far,
that's fantastic.
Not really.
Well, I wish I was lucky to say the same thing. And one thing that you're obsessed with at the moment, either in your professional life or personal life, or
probably this technology.
Yeah. Is it one of the things where it's still very much like leaking into your personal life? You're very much like obsessed with like, is it the tech stuff of behind like the drones and kind of like firmware updates and that kind of thing that drives you, or is it the hardware, or
It's probably a mixture of. I've in this industry, I've never seen growth like it like telephones used to be one every year. This is like once every couple of weeks there's something new.
Really? God.
It's unbelievable. You can't keep up.
Yeah.
And this thing behind us, we paid a fortune for that, and then a couple of weeks later they announced something else, and we were like, what? It's impossible. Yeah. But then, there's additions that you need to keep yourself up to speed with what's going on, because there's all kinds of things happening in the background. They've just developed a drone there that can do, I don't know whether you guys are familiar with NDT and UT testing, but it's basically a probe on the end of the drone. Yeah. And you can fly up, let's say, a tank or some kind of separation module and drive the drone into the tank and check the thickness of the material.
That's incredible.
Which is something that rope access guys were doing before. So that was a new development. There's honestly really some stuff going on in the background that you can't get my head around.
Is all the tech like upgradable on them? Like, so obviously on these kind of things, when you buy, like, say, go back to Mavic type thing, it's a sealed type unit, so I imagine you can upgrade them, but it's probably not very easy unless you know what you're doing. Like, is it a case of you've got to buy, I imagine for some upgrades, a full new unit, or can you upgrade certain bits on it? Or?
So, like you say there, the consumer grade type is fixed. Yeah. The Mavic, the Phantom, although you can modify them.
Yeah.
These, I suppose, this is one up from the consumer grade. You can put different cameras on. You can put a thermal camera on that without too much problems. But again, they've discontinued that model now, so they'll probably stop with the upgrades. Yeah. That thing over there is modular, so you can put all kinds of different cameras and sensors on it.
That's good. I suppose it makes, like, I use the term, but shelf life a bit longer.
Yeah.
So how long roughly does, like, would you say it lasts for before you would need to upgrade, like, the majority of the kit on it? Is it a case where you can make upgrades to it a little bit at a time, so you might get 5 years out of it? Yeah. Or is it a case where every 2 or 3 years you need a full new one? Or...
I suppose it depends on the hours that it's done. There's a lot of people, I mean, this one's probably 4-year-old now. There's nothing much wrong with it. You change the props. What you do, again, at each job, you do your pre-flight inspection, and you're checking every kind of working piece of equipment on that machine. Yeah. And if you see there's an issue, you put it back in its box and it doesn't fly, or you try and solve it on the job, But regards to wear and tear,
I suppose the environment sometimes you guys are in, kind of like salt water in the air and stuff like that. Yeah. Sand, grit, all that kind of stuff doesn't really mesh well with certain mechanical parts. So
you've definitely got to keep your eye on it, and you, again, just change it as and when. But I would say, as per any with your computers, anything 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, which is a good shelf. If you think how much you use them, it's an incredible shelf life, really.
It is,
that's fantastic. Is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to, or anybody that you would like to say hi to?
Yeah, my missus for putting up with me.
God love them all. God knows how they do.
Yeah, been good.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been fantastic.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
If people want to get in contact with you and DJM, where's the best place for them to find you?
Again, we're on all the social media channels. You can contact us through Facebook or LinkedIn or whichever one you want.
All the website and everything will be linked below for anybody who wants to have a click there.
And the website's obviously got a contact form there. You can go through that if you want.
Yeah, that'll be linked obviously below. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
That is episode 12 of the Teesside Business Podcast. The Teesside Business Podcast is promoted and produced by Person to Person Marketing. Thanks very much for listening.